Hello, welcome to the Tennessee Informer. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tonight we got something a little bit different. You know, there's a lot of conservative grassroots organizations across Tennessee, and some of them have been around longer than others, some are more successful than others, and one that's becoming pretty well known and has had some big events every year. We're going to have the spokesman for that organization with us tonight. Tracey Smith is here to talk with us about the Constitutional Conservative Coalition, which is TCGC, and also Knox for Liberty, when these groups are somewhat linked. Anyway, we're glad to have Tracy with us. And Tracy, thank you for coming on. And what can you tell us and tell the audience about Knox for Liberty and CGCC? What's the, good Lord, TCGC, and how they're related and how they work together?
Hi, Dave. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Basically, the way that TCGC works is Knox for Liberty is a grassroots conservative group in Knox County. And we started Knox for Liberty back in 2022 when we were, really frustrated with some things that we saw happening, not only across the country, but in our own county and in our own state. And so, some friends and I got together in Knox County and we said, hey, we're all waiting for somebody to do something. And we decided that we would step up and be that somebody. And so that's how Knox for Liberty came into being. And so we started that in 2022. And just right out the gate, not just 3 months maybe after we started Knox for Liberty, we started getting involved in local politics and things that were happening in our own county. And there was an all-ages drag show at the Tennessee Theater in December of 2022. And what we started figuring out very quickly was that even though we were fighting something at a county level, we weren't able to get any traction or stop, children from going into this show without involving people at the state level. So it became a state law issue. And so, our mayor wouldn't touch it, the sheriff wouldn't touch it, we couldn't get anybody to do anything about this. And so we quickly figured out this was a state level issue. So then we started talking to state representatives and senators, and, they all told us, just wait until January, we're working on legislation, this won't happen again. And that really made us think, because while we were focused on what was going on in Knox County, we recognize the fact that we really need to also get involved at a state level. And so we started, networking and meeting other conservative grassroots groups around Tennessee. And several of us got together and said, it would make so much more sense if we all worked together,
right,
and spoke with one really loud voice for what we want to happen within our state. And that makes so much more sense than having all of these little siloed groups all over the state. And so we came together as a coalition in 2023, and we created the Tennessee Constitutional Grassroots Coalition. And so for short, we use the acronym TCGC.
Which I'll be able to say eventually.
The acronym is so much easier than trying to spit all of that out.
Gotcha. And so you got several counties involved here. This is a pretty decent sized group you got here.
We do, and we're growing. Again, the whole purpose of TCGC is to work together on state issues, mostly legislation. But there are so many other benefits to working together as a coalition. Sometimes, when you're in this fight, it's difficult. It's tough. It's very much a spiritual battle across the state and across the nation. And it's very, I just can't explain to you how helpful it is to be able to talk with other groups in counties around the state who are dealing with the same issues. And, sometimes we bounce ideas off of each other. Sometimes we just pray for one another, because this truly it's a tough walk. and we're all volunteers. It's all grassroots. But it really is, it's an amazing group of people. It's unbelievable. And these are the people that, you want fighting for you.
So most of the people involved are Christians, you would say?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can do nothing without God.
Agree. And so what are some of the time you mentioned the stop and the drag shows? What are some of the other big issues that you're focused on?
So as a coalition, we have a whole list on our website. So if you go to tcgc1776.org, you'll see that we have a list of priorities. And so the things that we're focused on, we're looking at parental rights. We're looking at medical freedom, illegal immigration. We've kind of got our top 10 list on our website. But we have a whole list of things that we're monitoring and watching that's happening in the Tennessee legislature. And so what we do every legislative session is we have volunteers from all of these groups that get together, and we work every single week during the legislative session. So from January until sometime in May, we're following all of the legislation that's going through the House and the Senate.
That's a lot of legislation to keep up with.
Oh my. And it's not that we're doing this, to try to replace anything else that's happening in the state. We do it sort of as a complement to things like, what the Tennessee Conservative News is putting out and what you see from Tennessee Stands. But we're looking at thousands of bills every week, and we're trying to put out calls to action. And sometimes what we find is that we may be following a bill that perhaps Tennessee Stands isn't, and vice versa. And so it can never hurt to have more and more people throughout our state monitoring this throughout the session.
So how many people during session does your group have watching legislation?
We've got honestly, it's a handful of folks. We got, maybe 8 or 10
right?
folks.
It's the same,
Yeah,
10% in every organization.
Always. So we have our faithful few, but they literally spend every weekend, like I said, from January until May, monitoring legislation and trying to make people aware of what's going on and putting out those calls to action and doing everything that we can to impact that legislation, because we truly believe that we, the people, should be in control of the government and the decisions that are being made by these people that we send to represent us. And so if your representative, if your senator, if they aren't voting the way that the people in their district are wanting them to vote, then I'm sorry, they need to be voted out of office, because that's why we elect them. We elect them to represent us. And so you don't just vote for them and it's over.
Right. You got to watch them.
You got to watch them.
Like a hawk. And
absolutely. And so, and I always joke and I say, it's funny because you can vote people into office, but there's something about that county line when they travel into Nashville, they cross that county line into Nashville and something changes. Yep. We're not really sure what it is, but something changes. And so the people you thought you were electing don't always do what you think they're going to do, and they don't always represent you in the way that you expected. And so that's why you have to monitor them. You have to watch what they're doing. You have to watch how they're voting. Yeah. They can tell you all kinds of things, and they can be your neighbor, and they can just be so nice to you. But if they get into Nashville and it's time to vote, and they don't vote the way that you expected them to, or the way that you asked them to, or they're not representing them in the manner that you expected, I'm sorry, you need to vote them out. You need to find someone who will.
Well, and a lot of them, they claim they believe X, Y, and Z, and that they will fight for X, Y, and Z, but when they get up there, it's like all bets are off. It's like, hey, I've got the job now, and I'll do what I want.
Absolutely. Like I said, it's something about crossing that county line into Nashville. I don't know if it's a time warp, if it's another portal. Something happens that they just become different people.
Absolutely. So, how many people do you think you have? Do you have any idea how many people are actually in TCGC?
Oh, well, the number that you see on our website, those are the followers from all of the groups around the state. And so, of course, none of us, we don't charge membership fees or anything like that. We're all grassroots volunteers, conservatives. And so we've got more than 24,000 followers on all of our email subscriptions and all of our social media channels and all
Wow.
of the meetings that all of our different groups have throughout the state. And so, most all of our groups are having monthly meetings in their counties.
That's pretty good. That's a good. You guys got to be having some sort of impact with those kind of numbers. So let me ask you this: What have you had any victories? Anything that you can say, "Hey, look, we made this happen, or we stopped this from happening," as far as the legislature goes?
I would love to be able to tell you that we know that we were directly responsible for affecting some type of legislation. I don't have any proof of that. And, we're all about truth telling. And so, I can't tell you that we've definitely impacted it, but I can tell you that we have senators and representatives who are reaching out to us and asking us questions, based on what they need to find out something about a bill, and they want to know what groups like ours, how we feel about that bill and how we would like to be represented. So we are seeing a shift in that they're recognizing that we're there. They're recognizing the fact that we're putting out all of this information. And, like I said, if Tennessee Stands is following the same bill and we're on the same page with them, then we share the link to Tennessee Stands so that they can use their tools to be able to reach out to their representatives and their senators. So we really do try to get the word out, because it's critical that people understand when they go to the polls, it's no longer about voting for an R or a D. You've got to know who the person is you're voting for. You've got to know how they're going to represent you, how they're going to vote on critical issues that's going to affect your life and your children's lives and your grandchildren's lives every day, and not just today, but for years to come.
Yeah, and if they're reaching out to ask your guys' opinion, you're having an impact. They don't just do that. They don't just randomly check. So you're definitely getting somebody's attention, or they wouldn't bother with you. I will tell you that much. So yeah, good job on that. So I know we're going to get to the event here in a little bit, but this upcoming session, do you guys have any ideas what some of your priorities might be?
We haven't really listed those out. We did that last year, and what we did is we created a little list of what our priorities were, and we had some bills that we wanted some folks to carry. And what we did is we started looking around at representatives and senators who might be interested in doing that. I'm really sad to say that some of them weren't interested in some of the bills that we had, that all of our groups felt were super important. And like I said, we're kind of new to this game. To be honest with you, if you had asked a whole lot of us 5 years ago if we would be doing this today, we would have laughed at you, because it's just it's not where you expect yourself to be. Working on legislation and getting into politics. And honestly, we don't consider this to be politics. We consider this to be our opportunity to be good citizens. That's what we're called to do. We're called to be good citizens. We're called to vote. We're called to monitor what our legislators are doing. We're called to make our communities a better place to live. And that's what we consider this to be. And if you ask most people, not just in our group, but probably across the state, they would tell you that they hate politics. And it's politics it's ugly. It's ugly. It's rough stuff. It's not anything anybody, just grows up and says, "Oh wow, that's exactly what I want to do."
Well, no
It just
normal
is.
person anyway.
There you go. It's just not. But I will say that there's been a shift, Dave. There's been a true shift, I believe, in the consciousness of our country. I think people are more aware. I think they're paying more attention. I pray to God that they are, because it's going to affect our futures in every single way you can possibly imagine. When you start talking about legislation that we supported and we tried to get passed during the last session, something as simple as removing fluoride from your water systems.
Right.
When you speak to someone who works for the water company and they tell you that the fluoride going into your water system, going into your drinking water, your cooking water, your bathing water, that chemical is so toxic that they had a leak out of one of the containers, and the leak, just droplets, ate a 6-inch hole in their concrete.
Wow. That's just from fluoride?
That's from fluoride. If they dispose of the fluoride, you can't just take fluoride and say, okay, we're done with it, just go put it in the landfill. Fluoride is a neurotoxin. It is so toxic that if you choose to dispose of it, you literally have to pay a company to dispose of it for you because it is hazardous waste. And there's a company in Alabama who disposes of toxins like this, and there's a fee for that, and most counties don't want to pay it. So it continues to go into your water supply. So these are the kinds of decisions that when people say, I don't want to get involved in politics, is your drinking water political? Are your medical freedoms political? You're going to have to decide at some point where you're going to draw the line, because it's not politics. It's protecting yourself and your family. It's protecting your faith, family, and freedom. And sometimes it's protecting and standing up for what's right versus what's truly evil.
Yeah. There's a saying that, you may not take an interest in politics, but it has an interest in you, or some words to that effect. So people, if you say, I'm not interested, I don't want to bother, that doesn't mean that the state, the country, for that, the federal government for that matter, that doesn't mean that they're not going to pass legislation that affects you and cost you, and in some cases can hurt you. That's still going to happen, whether you have an interest in it or not. So,
Absolutely.
But you got a big event coming up in October. Let's talk about that.
Yes, we do. We do. So this is our second annual TCGC Freedom Fest. And what Freedom Fest is, it is this huge event that goes from noon to 8 p.m. on October the 4th. It is an opportunity to really network with conservatives from across the state. There'll be all kinds of vendor booths and organizational booths set up around the perimeter of the event. So you'll be able to talk with all of those organizations. You'll be able to buy some really cool stuff. And I have to tell you, we had a vendor last year at Freedom Fest, and he actually said that he was so impressed because he said his opportunities and the people that he was able to meet at the event was worth so much more than anything he could have sold at that event.
Wow.
So I can't tell you the importance of just making these connections with people across the state, because this is how we make an impact in Tennessee. This is how we make an impact. We network and we stand together with like-minded people, and we change the trajectory of our state. Because if we don't, we're in trouble.
Yeah, that's one thing too. I think Tennessee, and we have a Republican supermajority, and we have Republican governors, and of course, if you followed it for more than a day, you know that the majority of them are worthless. And you would think that we have Democrats actually running our legislature from some of the things that we can't get through, and then even some of the things that they try to put on us. So we definitely got to do better. And one of the things that I see is there's so many people that don't even focus on state level. The only thing they focus on is the federal level. And then, of course, since Trump's president, we don't have to worry about anything. He's fixing everything. And that's just not true. One guy can't fix everything. And, by the way, he's not going to be there forever anyhow. But Tennessee has enough of its own problems that we need to deal with. And so people need to get out of that mindset. So, I'm glad to hear that you guys are growing and that you're having an impact, and that people are getting involved. Now, I'm sure within your group, you've had some people from there who are not originally from Tennessee. And I'm sure that some of them come from places like California and whatnot, and they get here thinking they're coming to Tennessee and it's going to be, everything is going to be dark red and nothing to work. And they get here and they're like, wait a minute, California was doing this 10, 15 years ago, or This state was doing it 10, 15 years ago, and they're seeing the things going on in Tennessee at the legislature that was going on in the place they just left. Have you run into a lot of that?
It permeates our entire coalition, Dave. It's surprising to me. It really is. I think it's more surprising to them. The majority of the people within these organizations, these grassroots organizations, the majority of them aren't from Tennessee.
Yep.
And one of the first questions they all always ask me is, why are the people in Tennessee not standing up? Why are they not doing anything? And, my response to them has always been, we've had it so good for so long that people have forgotten how to stand up and fight.
Yep.
They've forgotten how to stand up and fight for the rights because they haven't had to. I think they were woken up maybe this much during COVID, but they've still got a long ways to go. Some
Right.
of us, I think, are probably more awake to what's going on than others.
Absolutely. And a
But
lot
the
of people
folks-
went along with what was going on in COVID. I mean, they were mad at us if we wouldn't wear a mask and if we, wouldn't stay 6 feet from them.
I think that woke a lot of people up. I really do. But most of the folks in our coalition are from other states, and they're like, you know what? We came to Tennessee because we left the blue mess that we lived in, and we came to Tennessee because I was trying to be really polite on that one, Dave. Because we thought that Tennessee was really conservative and really deep red, and we've gotten here and we're just shocked. And so we're going to stand up and fight for the people who aren't fighting. And, we have a saying in Knox for Liberty, my thing has always been, you're going to have to get off the couch.
Yep.
You can't just sit on the couch and watch. You're going to have to get off the couch, and you're going to have to do something to protect your own faith, family, and freedom.
Yep.
That's just all there is to it. And that's part of, why we do the Freedom Fest event, is because it's an opportunity for the community to come out and meet all of these organizations and really find ways that they can get involved. It's not just these grassroots organizations that are within TCGC, but it's all kinds of organizations. It's, TFA, it's Moms for Liberty, it's Tennessee Citizens for State Sovereignty,
Yep.
it's Tennessee Right to Life. It's all of these conservative organizations that would just love to have you get involved with them. And so, and then plus on top of that, it's an opportunity to really learn something, because we have some nationally recognized speakers coming in, and they're speaking on some very informative topics. I'll leave it at that. Some things that some folks probably haven't been woken up to yet. We have Kathy O'Brien coming in. She's the MK Ultra whistleblower.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of people that don't know anything about her, and if you tried to say, hey, did you realize that the government has a mind control operation, they would just kind of, and that's just not true. A lot of people don't realize the things that our government's been involved in, and they really need to do some research. Right. So we're going to have a lot of folks coming in that are going to be talking about all kinds of things. These, like I said, they're nationally known. Plus, we have some that are just known within our state and within East Tennessee. Yeah. So we're going to have a lot of those folks coming in and speaking. And then we've got some great, again, nationally known speakers and singers and musicians. And they're just going to be fantastic.
So who do we have? Who do you have coming?
So in the musicians, we've got 5 Times August. He's absolutely amazing. He's got some great songs you're going to have to go listen to. He's got one that's called Sad Little Man, which is all about Anthony Fauci, which is awesome. He's got another one that he just released called Silent War. And that's a very, very good song. And my personal favorite, because he's kind of got a little bit of a Tom Petty vibe, or a sound. Yeah. And he's got a song that's called Ain't No Rock and Roll. And that's the kind of song that you open up the sunroof and you go driving around East Tennessee at night and just turn that one up really loud because you'll love it.
I'm looking, and my eyes aren't so good, but I recognize some of the people there, and
Yep.
you got a variety of topics. So like you'll have somebody covering election integrity. You've got Jeff Cobble on there, an expert on the Constitution. I see Monty Fritz, state representative,
Yes.
possibly running for governor soon. We'll see. And I mean, just listen. That guy's got a great message. So I see Amy Miller from. And I can never, Children's Health Defense. Actually, she's with something else now. She's with another group now. So
Amy Miller will actually have a MAHA roundtable. So Make America Healthy Again.
right,
So she's going to have a roundtable. So she's going to have a couple of folks on the stage with her, and they're going to do a roundtable talking about, how do we get healthy again?
right.
How do we learn how to take care of ourselves and get rid of all of our dependence on big pharma?
Yeah. So I mean, there's whatever your concern is from
It's covered.
It's
We got
covered.
it.
You've got it all there, and then you got some good music, and then I'm sure you mentioned food trucks. So it's not like you're going to be there for 8 hours with nothing to eat.
Yep, lots of food trucks, lots of great food. We'll have a big inflatable obstacle course for the kids, so that'll keep them busy for a while. It's a beautiful venue. If you haven't seen it, the Tate and Lyle Amphitheater is absolutely gorgeous.
Now, where's this at? Is this right outside of Knoxville?
It is. It is. It's in Loudoun County. It's Loudoun County Park. It's a Tate and Lyle Amphitheater, and it is a beautiful venue. There's plenty of parking close by. Tickets are only $15.
Wow.
And that is an amazing price for all of the people that you get to see all day long.
Right.
I mean, $15 can barely get you into a movie.
How much are booths?
Yeah, booth space depends on what you're looking for, depends on how much of a sponsorship you want to do. But if you're just a vendor and you just, you've got something that you want to sell, you've got some jewelry or some homemade things you want to sell at a booth, booth space is $25.
Wow. So now they can do all this online to go TCGC and buy the tickets, get the booth space.
Yes, they can do everything online. And I do want to stress, Dave, the thing about this is not intended to be a moneymaker, because TCGC is not about raising a bunch of funds. TCGC is about getting the word out and helping the people of our state to get involved. The payments that we get are to cover the costs, because when you have to pay for the venue,
Right.
and you have to pay for your speakers, and you have to pay for your entertainers, and you've got to pay for insurance, you got a lot of things you got to pay for.
It can't
So
be
that's
cheap.
to help us. No, it is not. And that's to help us cover those costs, because we're grassroots volunteers. We don't have any money. So, so we need help with covering those things. But that's not what it's about. And so that's why, the costs are so low. That's why it's, $15 a ticket to get in to see all of this, because money is not our focus and never will be.
Yeah, not at $15 a head. That money is definitely not your focus.
No,
and even
and-
25 for a booth, that's nothing. So,
Exactly. And this, and again, everything can be done from our website. So tcgc1776.org. You go there, you can buy your tickets, you can sign up for a booth, the form and everything is there. You can contact us on this website. There's a contact form there. Also, you can sign up for our email subscription, and that is vitally important as we go into the 2026 legislative session.
Absolutely.
Because that's how it's easiest for us to reach people. For calls to action and to let them know what we're finding, what we're seeing throughout the legislative session. There's just so much that we can do on social media, because as you know, I'm sure we get blocked 50 ways to Sunday. So it's very difficult to reach people on social media.
Yeah.
So we really do ask that people go out there and just sign up for those emails.
All right. Any closing thoughts?
I would have to say, come out, enjoy this event, come out and enjoy Freedom Fest. If you know of groups in other counties around the state that might be interested in joining our coalition, even if we already have a group in that county, this is not about, who's on first and who's on second. This is about making our state great. This is about protecting our faith, family, and freedom in the state of Tennessee. And so if you know anybody that might be willing to join our coalition and they're like-minded, please send them our way, have them reach out and contact us. Would love to talk to them. Our goal is to hit all 95 counties. And lastly, I guess the thing that I would leave you with, Dave, is that, I just ask that everybody pray for the state of Tennessee. Pray for your county. Pray for your leaders in your county. Pray for your state, your representative, your senator, your governor. Whether you agree with them or not, pray for them. Because Tennessee has an opportunity to lead the nation if we'll only do what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, we definitely could do that if we get it all together. And hey, thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for the information, and thank you for what you do. And I'm going to try to make that event. I'm sure it sounds like it's going to be a good one. I know some of those people, so I'm interested in hearing them. And hey, just thank you again.
Thank you. Appreciate it.